Reactions are trailing new videos trending on social media from NDC presidential candidate Peter Obi's speech at the NDC aspirants dinner on Monday night in Abuja. Addressing the crowd, Peter Obi declared that the NDC was determined to build a political institution founded on service, fairness, inclusion, and internal democracy, rather than personal interest and transactional politics. But it is his bold warning on electoral integrity that is setting social media on fire, with Peter Obi imploring the public not to be afraid of any party rigging elections, stating that if votes aren't properly accounted for, they will personally step in to count the votes themselves. Let's take a look.
For those who want to rule Nigeria for the next 4 years, they must give us reason to vote for them. It's no longer going to be. Don't be determined by their threat to rig election. This time, our vote will count. Our vote will count. If it doesn't count, those who refuse to count it will count it. We have a country. This country must work. People can no longer take us for granted.
All right, I'll take a reaction from Nonso, who wrote, "That's the spirit Nigerians want to hear. Elections should be decided by the people, not by manipulation or intimidation. Every vote must count in 2027. If they refuse to count the votes, we will count them." And I...
The NDC presidential candidate, Peter Obi, has said in a video that rigging will not work in the coming election, that if they refuse to count the votes correctly, if the necessary body refuses to be accountable for the votes, that we will count the votes ourselves. That's what he said, that we will step in and count the votes ourselves. Peter Obi, the Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate and the present NDC presidential candidate for 2027, and Nigeria's most prominent opposition voice heading into the next election cycle, made a declaration that carries three distinct layers: a warning to incumbent political machinery, a mobilization signal to his obedient base, and a legal or civil disobedience threshold, hinting that civic action could follow institutional failure. Statements like these are rare in Nigerian political discourse because most opposition candidates either go silent after disputed elections, as we saw post 2023 when the Labour Party pursued the tribunal route, or make noise without a concrete alternative framework. What makes Obi's words significant is the phrase, "we will count them ourselves." That is an organizational commitment, not just rhetoric. To understand why this statement resonates so deeply, you must understand that rigging is not a new allegation in Nigeria. It is a documented, institutionalized pattern. From the annulment of the June 12, 1993 election, which is considered Nigeria's freest ever, to the widely condemned 2007 elections under Olusegun Obasanjo's watch, elections that even the outgoing president admitted were flawed, Nigeria has a decades-long history of electoral manipulation. The 2023 election introduced new mechanisms: the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, and the Inec's result viewing portal were presented as technological firewalls against rigging. Yet, widespread allegations emerged. Result sheets transmitted from BVAS did not match figures later declared at collation centers. The Labour Party and PDP took their cases to the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal and ultimately the Supreme Court, both of which upheld Tinubu's victory. But the perception of injustice among Obi's base never fully dissolved. That unresolved grievance is the soil in which Obi's current statement grows. He is speaking to millions of Nigerians, particularly youth, the urban middle class, and the Southeast, who believe the 2023 result was manipulated and have been waiting for accountability. The Nigerian political terrain is arguably one of the most complex on the African continent. You are dealing with a system in which money, ethnicity, incumbency advantage, and party structure often outweigh policy and popular will. Let us break down the key forces. The APC and PDP, Nigeria's two dominant parties, have decades of organizational depth, patronage networks, and access to state resources. Governors control significant local government machinery, a critical tool in vote collation manipulation. The security apparatus, while officially neutral, has historically been deployed in ways that advantage incumbents. Peter Obi's NDC, where he is presently, still lacks the grassroots agents network in rural areas, particularly in the northwest and northeast, that will be needed to independently verify results at the polling unit level across all 170,000 plus units nationwide. This is the infrastructure gap that makes his "we will count them ourselves" statement either an inspiring promise or an inspirational stretch, depending on whether the organizational investment follows. Now, political language at this level, the let's decode the message in the words of Peter Obi. Political language at this level is always multi-coded. We will count them ourselves can be read in at least three ways, and each carries different strategic implications. Parallel tallying. Obi may be signaling a structured polling unit agent deployment where NDC agents independently record, photograph, and transmit results before any collation happens. This is legal, procedurally sound, and was attempted in 2023 but was undermined in areas where agents were intimidated or absent. Mass civil action. The more radical reading is that Obi is laying groundwork for protest mobilization if results are disputed. This echoes the spirit of the NSAS generation. However, it is also constitutionally risky territory. Any call for civil unrest around elections touches on public order, public order provisions, and could be used by opponents to paint him as destabilizing. Legal prepositioning. It may simply be signaling that this party will have airtight documentary evidence this time, making any tribunal process far more winnable. The 2023 case partly suffered from evidentiary challenges. Strong result documentation at the polling unit level is the backbone of any legal challenge. Can rigging actually be prevented in Nigeria? This is the hardest question in Nigerian electoral politics. The honest answer is partially, and only under specific conditions. Here is the analytical framework. Technology has genuinely shifted the rigging calculus. Beavers makes voter impersonation and stuffing significantly harder at the accreditation stage. IREV, when operational and complied with, allows public verification, but the weak links remain at the collation stage, where figures from polling units are manually aggregated at ward, local government, and state levels, and at the transmission compliance stage, where Inec officials can still delay or selectively upload results. A second structural problem is security. In certain geopolitical zones, parts of Kogi, Rivers, Benue, and some northwest states, armed thugs have historically disrupted polling with near impunity. Without credible security deployment and accountability, even perfect technology can be overwhelmed by physical violence and intimidation. The third problem is INEC itself. Despite reforms, INEC's funding and appointment structure tie it partially to political goodwill. True electoral independence would require constitutional amendment that insulate the commission from executive influence, a reform successive administrations have resisted. Peter Obi's statement is simultaneously his most powerful and most vulnerable political play heading into the next election. Powerful because it speaks directly to a generation of Nigerians who are more exhausted by stolen mandates and institutional failure. Vulnerable because the system is challenging as resources, institutional depth, and legal machinery that a still developing opposition party cannot yet match on every front. The statement will succeed as a political strategy only if three things happens in sequence. NDC deploys credible polling unit agents in all 176,000 plus units. Those agents are trained, funded, and protected, and is the documentation infrastructure, digital transmission, cloud backup, legal SIM readiness is in place before election day, not after. If those conditions are met, we will count them ourselves becomes a genuine accountability mechanism. If they are not met, it risks becoming the kind of pre-election bravado that energizes a base but leaves them deflated when the system overpowers the movement again. The deeper truth is that no single candidate or party can fix Nigeria's electoral system alone. What Obi's statement does, regardless of the electoral outcome, is raise the threshold of public vigilance and demand. And that, historically, is how democratic cultures eventually forced institutional reform, not in one election, but across a generation of sustained civic pressure. The core takeaway as a political analyst, Obi's statement is the right language for for the moment, but language without logistics is just noise. The 2023 experience showed that technology alone, beavers, and IREV cannot seal every gap. The coalition stage, security threats, and INEC's structural dependency on political goodwill remain the real battlegrounds. Can rigging be prevented? Not entirely, not in the current constitutional and institutional arrangement, but it can be significantly reduced if NDC invests heavily in polling unit agent coverage across all 36 states and the FCT, creates a real-time digital result capturing system independent of INEC, and as litigation teams prepositioned in every state. The statement is a declaration of intent. Whether it becomes history or another footnote of unfulfilled promise depends entirely on the organizational muscle that follows it between now and election day. Thank you for listening. Put your comments in the comment section, share your views, share the video, like, and subscribe. Thank you.